Okay, so this guy is the person your high school history teacher said would have been the greatest president of the United States. His name is Al Gore. He was the senator of Tennessee, turned vice president of the United States in the 1990s, and he was very popular, but he narrowly lost the 2000 election, and since that point, he's kind of become a political has-been, and I'm just wondering what ruined him. The motivation for Al Gore to actually run for president in the first place, it really comes from his dad, Al Gore Sr., who was a U.S. senator and very relevant in the 1950s and 60s. Al Gore was so relevant in the Democrat Party that in 1956 he actually placed third in their vice presidential nomination, coming right behind JFK. At the same time, Al Gore Sr. had some hate in Tennessee because he was originally pro-Vietnam but then became anti-Vietnam, and he also voted for the Civil Rights Act. So in 1970, he lost re-election because Richard Nixon really targeted him big time, and because of that, Al Gore Sr. just went into academia and retired, but his son got involved in politics. So because of that, Al Gore got elected to Congress when he was only 28 years old, and he became one of the most relevant members of Congress, where he was responsible for a bill that banned the sale of human organs, he was responsible for a bill that led to the pathway to building the internet, and he was also one of the few members of Congress at the time who believed in climate change would hold hearings on it. Because of that success in Congress, it led him to becoming a U.S. Senator when he was only 36 years old, and he won that race in 1984 in a massive landslide. His first political failure came in 1988 when he tried running for president against Michael Dukakis and Jesse Jackson, who were trying to seek the Democrat nomination, but ultimately came in third place, and he failed for these reasons. The first reason being that he completely ignored the West and the East Coast when he ran in 1988, only campaigning in the South, and the problem there was Jesse Jackson was so popular with the black vote, he didn't really get that many Southern voters. And the other problem was he ran too moderate for the Democrat Party at the time, where he said he wanted to increase military spending. He was for some of the measures during the Reagan administration, so because of that, Michael Dukakis, who was more left-wing, ultimately took the nomination. Still, it was considered a respected loss where he still won 7 states. Ultimately, what saved Al Gore on the national level was this guy right here, Vice President Dan Quayle, who served under George Bush. And not a lot of people liked this guy, where they thought he was a dumbass because he misspelled potato on TV, he made a lot of quirks, and many people thought George Bush just picked him because he wanted a younger VP to appeal to the young people, which failed. Because of that, even though Al Gore didn't run for president in 1992, Bill Clinton did, and he picked Al Gore to be VP because he thought they had a lot of similarities. They were both from the South, they were both young, and they both were considered moderates in the party. So Al Gore became vice president, but there was a curse to that, and that's that he was always in Bill Clinton's shadow, who was the much more charismatic guy, so people thought he was just the boring dude talking about climate change. Still, he was popular enough that he easily got the Democrats' nomination in 2000, defeating a former basketball player easily, and then he was also beating George W. Bush in the polls early on, but he collapsed due to a lot of mistakes he made. With the big mistake being that Al Gore didn't want to campaign with Bill Clinton because of Bill Clinton's association to Monica Lewinsky, which he thought was going to kill his campaign. It was ridiculously dumb because Democrats won the 1998 midterm elections even after the affair, and Bill Clinton had a 60% approval rating at the time. His next mistake was picking Joe Lieberman to be the VP, who was the only Democrat senator against Bill Clinton, and then also at the same time he was anti-video game, he was really anti-gun, and nobody on the national scale really liked this guy. Gore won the popular vote but ultimately lost the electoral vote. Since that point, people don't like how he's made hundreds of millions of dollars off climate change, and with that, I'm Charles Perrault, Red Blue News. Subscribe to learn something.